The story begins like this. A shy little girl from a small town in Pennsylvania goes to Hollywood, makes movie after movie, and no one notices her.
Would you tell us the nature of your relationship with Mr. Boz?
I had sex with him for about 1.5 years. I liked having sex with him. He wasn't afraid of experimenting.
Until she's cast in one particular movie called Basic in Sharon Stone.
You ever, engage in any sadomasochistic activity?
Exactly what did you have in mind, Mr. Corelli?
The now famous interrogation scene occurs early in the movie, but one need watch no further to know you're witnessing the birth of a major movie star. Using female charm, male bravado, and a conspicuous absence of underpants, she reduces Michael Douglas and the rest of her inquisitors to a speechless stupor. By the end of the scene, she'd uncrossed her legs and opened up a world of possibilities.
It's nice.
Yes, she's always been pretty, even as a complex little girl growing up in tiny Meadville, Pennsylvania, the daughter of a factory worker, her IQ so high that at 5 years old, she started 2nd grade.
Hi, I'm Sharon Stone.
Like many actresses before her, a local beauty pageant provided the avenue out. After winning Miss Crawford County and competing in the state pageant, she signed with the Ford Modeling Agency. Sharon worked in Europe and starred in some popular commercials here in the States. Look familiar? But for the past 15 years, she's been right before your eyes in dozens of movies and failed TV series like Bay City Blues, where she got the coveted job of sleeping with a bedwetting baseball player.
It's not every night.
This is the 3rd mattress since we've been married.
Yes, those were the good old days. Actually, her first feature was Woody Allen's Stardust Memories. A few seconds into the movie, she directs a kiss toward Woody, and that's about all. Insiders predicted she'd be a big star nearly 10 years ago, when she played an ambitious starlet in the comedy Irreconcilable Differences. She stole the show with her satire of a singing Scarlett O'Hara in a musical remake of Gone with the Wind.
This Civil War ain't gonna get me down. I'm moving my act to a brand new town.
From this came nothing.
I want to scream!
In movie after movie, she was little more than an appetizer.
We lost our virginity together. Did he tell you that?
She was continually cast as the other woman. You know the character. Pretty, does a nude shower scene, dead by the middle of the movie. In fact, if it hadn't been for director Paul Verhoeven and actor Arnold Schwarzenegger, who knows what might have become of her. In Total Recall, she was mean, tough. Seriously.
We're married.
Consider that a divorce.
She still died halfway through, but this time she left an impression on the movie screen and later on the pages of Playboy magazine. And when director Paul Verhoeven was looking for someone to play Catherine, an ice-pick-wielding bisexual psychotic killer in Basic Instinct, he took a chance on Sharon. Sharon took the chance of her life and proved she is an actress. And even though her next film, Sliver, was not a huge box office draw, she is nonetheless on Hollywood's front line, and that has brought even greater exposure, both professionally and personally. In a well-publicized marital shakeup, she plans to marry film producer Bill McDonald as soon as his divorce comes through.
When you bring them up and bring them down, you're only using your bicep.
Am I beginning to look more like you? She's not taking stardom lying down. In her mid-30s, she knows she can only play the sex symbol for so long. In private life, Sharon is warm, kind, and surprisingly centered. She still lives in a one-bedroom house that she bought before she made it. But if her view of the San Fernando Valley hasn't changed, everything else has, even the way she sits in public. When I look at you sitting here, so gracious, lovely. It's very far away from that small town in Pennsylvania, Meadville. Population what in Meadville?
God, I think there's about 12,000.
Okay. What part of
12,800.
12,800. What kind of a kid were you? What kind of a little girl were you?
I was a very weird kid.
How are you weird? That's a funny word to use.
Well, I started school when I was 5 in the 2nd grade, so I was the one that everybody went, you're weird, you're weird. So you immediately start thinking that you are.
2nd grade, 5 years old,
Yeah.
because you were so smart.
Supposedly. Although I wonder at this point.
Is it true that you had, what was your IQ, 154? Which is like 2% of
It's
the
really
population?
strange. It's weird. I mean, for a woman who can't tie her shoes, that's a big number. I don't know.
Were you good looking, popular,
No.
pretty?
When I look now in a more loving, sort of whole way back at those pictures of that little girl, she was a pretty little girl.
But you didn't know
Who
it.
should have thought, geez, I'm pretty and I can wear a party dress and go to a party and people will like me. But I didn't know that at all. And
Boys didn't like you?
No.
Why not?
I don't know.
You made up for it.
Yes, they like me now.
At one point, there was the, what was the title of that beauty contest that you won?
Miss Crawford County or
Miss
the
Cra-
Tulip Festival pageant?
I think it was Crawford County. What was your talent?
Oh, I have to tell you, I guess, because you will tell them if I don't. I recited the Gettysburg Address.
I figured, let you tell it because you're right. I would have. I read that and I thought,
Yes,
she got
I
up there
did.
and did the Gettysburg Address.
Well, Barbara, it was 1976, and it was our bicentennial. And I lived in a small town where this pageant was at the county fair, and behind my Gettysburg Address was the sound of the pigs and cows waiting for their contest, mooing.
This is a county fair.
Squealing in the background. So, yeah, that's what I did.
And winning that contest meant what?
Well, it meant the horror of going to the Miss Pennsylvania beauty pageant, and I was such a hick. And when it came time for the evening gown competition, instead of going down and doing those demure little turns at the end of the runway, I kind of blew down the runway and did this big spin and kind of went like this and started laughing and went off. And obviously, I won nothing.
But you made a lot of friends.
I made a splash, and one of the judges came up to me afterwards and said, look, forget the beauty pageant thing. You could model. You have a kind of a runway thing, you know. You might think about that.
And that's when life began to change.
Well, that's when I started to think about it.
You made 17 films before Basic Instinct, before a really
Yes.
successful one. Everybody thinks you're the overnight star.
Yeah, after 15 years.
Okay. But in movie after movie after movie, you were always, if not the bimbo, the good-looking,
The prop.
sexy, the prop. I
Yeah.
mean, you were the one that the guy left his wife for.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Now, Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
Now, was that something that just came naturally, or did you have to prove there that you could play this woman?
Well, Paul Verhoeven directed Total Recall. He believed that I could do Basic Instinct. I knew that I could do it, but I knew that no one else would. Until I met Paul, I didn't think that I would get a break. And when I worked with him, and he experienced me as a person, not as a prop. And he helped me. And when I would come in and say, God, you know, I've been up all night and I've been thinking about this scene, and he wouldn't say, you're fabulous, you're the next Jessica Lange, somebody get her hair. He would say, that's a great idea. Let me think about it. And he would give me an answer. And in that answer, my work would be elevated, and then the film would be elevated. So when I read Basic Instinct, it was just, I knew. I mean, I just knew that I could play that part.
What did your parents think?
They thought that they were completely overwhelmed. I mean, they understood that I had given a good performance, and they understood that it had changed the way that people were looking at me as an actress. But they were completely overwhelmed. I mean, they understood that I had given a good performance, and they understood that it had changed the way that people were looking at me as an actress. But they were completely overwhelmed.
And your father?
My father, I think he was stunned.
He didn't say, "That's my little girl."
Well, he did.
Yeah?
Ultimately. Of course, they were barraged with international press in their little town, in their lives, in their home, and the local television station. You know, and some television station kept calling and calling and calling and pestering them for an interview, but in a really sort of subversive, negative way. And I was there, and my father said, "Look, if you don't know the difference between a peep show and a good performance, then you should change your occupation," and hung up the phone.
Hooray for Dad.
Yeah, my father's very supportive. He's very, very supportive. He's always been very supportive of my individuality.
You supposedly said, I don't know whether you did, really, there was a quote attributed to you, which went, "If you have a vagina and a point of view, that's very threatening." Did you really say that?
Yes, I really said that.
Well, would you say it again for me and tell me what you meant? Somehow coming from you, it's going to sound different.
Well, it was a very, I think, bottom line and bordering on coarse way of making a statement. But sometimes I think that you need that slap of the impact to make people consider something.
What was the point?
The point is that in any business, I don't want to be equal to a man, but I want to parallel male value in my life. And I don't think that that should be considered by my gender.
But you have certain ways where you look sexy, and I was going to say, you teach me a little bit. You know, maybe it's not too late. What do I do?
Yes, I can. Because,
Can you really?
Yes, because my eye doctor told me this when I was a kid. He said, nearsighted women are always the sexiest. And he with my big, thick glasses, I said, well, why? He said, because they have that sort of unfocused look when they look at you, like they're lost in a dream. So that's my secret. I take my contacts out, I see nothing, they think I'm sexy.
And you get very close. Come to think of it, I'm nearsighted.
See? There you have it.
Somehow or other, it hasn't had the same effect.
I don't know.
Are you being offered mostly parts of a very sexy woman?
I'm being offered parts that have sexual connotations.
Are you afraid of being stereotyped?
Well, after never having dates in high school, never being invited to part, like, this does not make me feel that I'm less of any other thing. I'm getting to be sexy. What a blast.